thanks for watching. The intention here was to assist me in selling the car and talk a bit about the CLK, but the car sold so quickly it was gone before I'd edited the video. So if you're interested in a CLK, this one's not for sale, but hopefully it will give you some insight into them and help you make a decision. Behold, my 2009 CLK 350 Sport. It's a pretty thing, isn't it? I've had this for a little over 2 years now. Bought it in January 20, right at the beginning, just after Christmas. And it has served me really, really well. But the time has come for me to part with it, because I'm an idiot and I've bought another car. I just can't stop buying cars. I don't know why. It's a problem. It's an illness, potentially. But I don't necessarily want to recover from it either. So, I've been casually looking for some time for a S202, so 1999 C43 wagon. One came up at Easter. There were only 150 of them made, so I just jumped at the chance, bought it. So now I've got yet another car. Something's got to give. It's got to. So this, I guess, is the least favoured of the fleet. Not strictly fair, but it's the one that needs to go. Being a sport, it comes with a lot of AMG extras. The wheels, the suspension, the bumpers, exhaust, seats, steering wheel. But it's not an AMG car. And because it's not an AMG car, it doesn't have an AMG badge on the back of it. Here. You'll see a lot of them for sale. They have an AMG badge here. If you're thinking of doing it, don't. It's not an AMG car. Really gets my goat. Being the 2009, this is the latest of the M113 engine, I think. Someone will correct me if that's wrong. My apologies. I believe it's the M113, the V6. And some of these early ones had issues with soft timing chain gears, which basically, although it never throws a timing chain, it eats through the gears until the tensioner can't take up the slack anymore, puts the engine management light on. That's an MOT failure. So what do people do? They go and have the engine management light coded out. Because a Mercedes, you can turn anything on or off that you want to with the right equipment. So if you're looking for one of these, a little piece of advice, do your research. My advice would be buy the latest one you can get. Definitely buy or search on the engine numbers. All the information's on the web. It'll tell you which ones are to be avoided. Buy with your head. Be smart. And just a basic check. Turn the ignition on. Make sure the engine management light comes on. It goes out once you start the car. Right? Book one, page one. Easiest thing you can do. And that's not to say that any of these in an earlier guise, say from 2005 or 6, have got this soft timing gear problem. There are a lot of cars out there that have had them replaced. If it's got the paperwork for it, and you can get a 2005 one, then you can have the cheaper road tax. That might be a smart move. For me, personally, yes, the road tax is a bit of a bind. It's £5.85 a year, £51 a month if you're that way inclined. But look at it this way. If you need those timing gears changed, that's a £2,500, £2,700 job. Chances are you'll buy one of these, keep it for 3 years, pay an additional, what, £600 at most in road tax? It's a no-brainer, isn't it? Just buy the better car. That's what I did. So anyway, that's a little bit about that. I don't want to dwell on that because all cars have their problems, right? There's what's the website? honestjohn.co.uk. I don't even know if it's still going. It was around years and years ago. And if you read everything on that site, you'd never buy a car. You just wouldn't do it. It would be madness because they're brilliant. They'll list everything that goes wrong with every mark of car, every model. They all have something. Just buy the car you want, fix it when it goes wrong, Don't spend your full budget buying the car and skint yourself, so that actually when something does happen, you've got a little bit put aside. Yeah, just be smart. And in any case, yes, you know, I am going to go on a little bit on the road tax thing, because a lot of people do, and they don't understand it. At the end of the day, if you pay it monthly, it costs you £20 a month more, right? That's like, what's that? Netflix and Amazon Prime. And you'll get a damn sight more enjoyment out of this. So, and that's £20 a month more than a reasonable car. And then there's the other brigade that want to throw 10 grand at buying a car to get road tax for £20 a year. Keep it 3 years, save £600 or something, and then sell it. To each their own. Anyway, that's not me. I like older car, better car, more fun. Yeah, maybe a little bit, costs a little bit more month on month, but look what you're driving. So while we're talking about running costs, being a 3.5 litre V6, it's not exactly frugal, but it's not bad. If I drive it very gently, which I do most of the time, I was doing Maidstone to Liverpool regularly last year, and I was getting about 36 to the gallon out of it, which I don't think is bad, is it? 3.5 litre? That's actually pretty good. In town, low to mid 20s in reality. I think the book says it'll do a bit more, but well, can't really trust manufacturers and book figures on economy and emissions these days. Realistically, these are, to my mind, a little bit of an overlooked bargain. I think there's two schools of thought on it. Generally, it looks like a lot of money. Sat here, it looks like an expensive car. And perhaps to that point, people get put off with the potential for owning them, or the concern of the maintenance and running costs and those types of things. But I actually think they represent pretty good value for money. When you look at everything you get in one of these against everything you might get in another marque, I think the Mercedes is a good shout. I'm a bit of a Mercedes fan, BMW fan, massive Ford fan. Yeah, I just like cars, really. And bikes. Got a problem with those as well. Move on. So I thought, well, what I'll do, let's get out. It's a squinty day, but the sun's not too bright, and it's quite a good day for photographing the car. I like the dark colours. I love the lines of this. I think it's a beautiful looking car, and I just think this type of light really picks out the curves and shapes on it. So it's Bank Holiday Monday, it's quiet, let's get out and have some fun. What I'm going to do, I'll give you a little tour around this one, show you a few of the bits. I think probably we'll start with the roof though, just because it's such a cool mechanism. And the great thing about this one, over a lot of cars of this age, is that the infrared sensor on the door still works. Will now prove me wrong, of course, but I can just hold the key here, point it at the car, or at least, you know, it should have worked. Let's just check the tonneau cover, or boot separator, because if that isn't down, the roof's not going to operate. Fine. I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Firstly, what an amazing sound. Lovely start up, beautiful smooth running, quiet. That's a V6, what's not to like? I'll lean in here and I'll, you know, pull the button. There we go. I love the little seatbelt butlers as well. They're really nice. Just makes life a little bit easier, a little bit less stretching. I guess the Mercedes over the BMW is built perhaps for the more portly gentleman. Anyway, now look at it. The design of this, I think it's just, as I've said, it's just beautiful. I absolutely love these bulges in the tonneau cover that just fit really nicely with the seat, gives such a great contour. Everything is beautifully engineered. Everything is thought about. Silly little trick for a Mercedes, but it's brilliant. Service position on the bonnet. I don't know why I'm showing you this, but doesn't that make life easier? You know what I mean about engineering? And in fact, while it's idling here, I'll just lean in so you can hear it. There's nothing really to hear, is there? Tell you what. We'll just give it a little rev, because why not? And what's not to like about that? I think it's a really sleek looking car. I love the nose down angle. Just ever so slightly raked forward. Gives it quite a sporty stance. It's not a huge sports car, of course, but it just looks the part. That's not to say it's any slouch. This car came with halogen headlights when I bought it, which were, well, pretty awful for its time. These are Morimoto projectors that I've put in, and also some LED full beams and LED side lights, LED fog lights as well. Not because I'm one of those fog light wankers, just because when you unlock the car at night, the side lights come on in the centre here, and the fogs come on to light up the floor, and it just didn't match, so I ended up going through the whole lot. Inside, full leather, in very, very nice order. This little fellow in the middle here is actually the display for rear PDC, and that will light up kind of nicely actually. Doesn't really make any noise until you get quite close to something and the red lights come on, and then it screams at you. On the front you can see nice sort of brushed aluminium style trim. Again, leather seats. I love the circular vents. Front PDC of course in the top, and I'll just pull the door open here. We've got electric memory seats, heated of course, and even adjustable headrests. There's also some vacuum operation for the side bolsters, you know, to pump up the knee support, side bolsters and lumbar. Nice armrest with two-stage opening. This car's got the telephone prep, so you can pop that cap off and put the Bluetooth module in if you want to. I've got rid of that with a different head unit, we'll come on to that. And then a much deeper storage bin, and a little secret one in there as well. Being that this one has the premium sound, it's got the Harman Kardon subwoofer in the back also, which does make a nice addition. The coupe has a few more speakers. I think it has a 9-speaker system, where this one only has 7, and it has them in the rear and the front of the door, and then one up in the centre of the dash there. tweeters up by the mirrors, and the sub in the back. Good sized glove box, not a great deal to report. A little bit of engineering, even the tonneau cover here, when the roof comes down and locks in, it pushes this rather nice chrome unit out the way to actually grip and pull in tightly. I just like the way that comes up and covers it over. Doesn't leave any nasty gaps. This car, believe it or not, is actually called Chromite Black Metallic. It's blue, isn't it? Let's be honest. You know, anyone that's ever seen it says it's blue. The roof is black. It's pretty obviously different. And you can see down here, it's very recently, I think probably in about the last 500 or 600 miles, had a pair of rear tyres on the back. All Goodyear Eagle F1s, all round. And the fronts have got hardly any wear on them whatsoever. Getting you on the driver's side, just to cover off some of the switchgear. Auto headlights, obviously all your mirror controls, headlight wash wipe and headlight dip. On the steering wheel, volume control, phone prep, different menus and bits and pieces, and then you can see that limiter switch, and of course we've got the plus and minus gear shift paddles, which we never use, but they're there anyway. I've also fitted digital climate control to this one because the mechanical or manual one is not a very nice thing to use. It's just nice to do this little upgrade. Oh, be rude not to go for a drive, I think. Let's give that a whirl. I've got two of these keys, just in case you've never seen one. This is a Mercedes key. It's infrared. It does have a pull-out emergency key blade, which you can remove and unlock the door if you need to. But it goes into an electronic ignition switch. That far, releases the steering lock, which you'll hear. Turn the key, the car starts. So that's in. Shut the door. My little friend's giving me the seatbelt, which is kind of nice. I don't know, it might be a bit breezy for the roof down really for filming, but we'll give it a try. I hate people who drive around in cabriolets with the roof down and the windows up. It looks, well, I just think it looks a bit daft really. I get why you do it, but it's just not great. Anyway, let's go for a little drive. I do honestly think that's going to be too noisy and too windy, so I'll stop in a second and put the roof up. Turn that climate control back on as well. There you go. It's about 35 seconds, I guess, to get the roof up. Sorry, I keep interfering with this seatbelt because it's on my microphone and I don't want it to ruin the sound. Anyway, let's try again. Let's go for a little drive. One of the great things, in my opinion, about this car and actually having this fabric roof is that whilst you don't get a great deal of wind noise, if you've never had a cabriolet before, they're a little bit strange with a fabric hood, because you get this insulated effect with the glass around you, and then just where the C-pillar would be, it's fabric, and then you get noise of traffic coming past. Or so you're on a motorway, you pass an HGV, it's quiet, 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 noisy, quiet as it goes past you. It's a bit strange. Takes a little bit of getting used to, or it did for me. But as I say, the thing that I love about this particular car being a cabriolet is that you can hear the exhaust through the hood. So it's always making some noise. And, you know, like I said, it's not loud and brash or ridiculous. It's not a full-blown AMG car. It's still a luxury cruiser, if you like, a Grand Tourer. But you can hear it. And for that reason, as it's nice and warm, and this is a national limit bit of road, when I pull away, I'm going to be quiet and it's not. That's my plan anyway. Hopefully, traffic will be kind enough to us to allow that. And that's, I mean, that's not really punishing it, that's shifting at 4,000. Gearbox in comfort mode, not a harsh drive, up to 60 mile an hour, half throttle. And as I said, this is more a cruiser than it is a sports car. It's no slouch. It weighs in at about 1,700 kilos, roughly from memory. 268 brake horsepower. That's 272 PS's, whatever that is. I don't know. I work in old money. And 258 foot-pounds of torque. And Newton meters, again, I don't know. But that, coupled with a 7-speed transmission, actually makes for a really nice drive. It's pretty much always got the gear it wants. It's got a good range, and it gets reasonable economy. And it's a huge improvement over the earlier 320 with a 5-speed. So if you're in the market for a CLK, I'd advise you try and get yourself a 7-speed. The 280 is marginally better on fuel. It's a 3 litre, not a 3.5. I kind of think when you get to that level, what's the point in worrying about it? Just go for the big one. If a 500 Sport wasn't as rare as hen's teeth, I'd have probably bought one of those. But the fact remains that until last week, I didn't even know you could get a 500 Sport model. I thought it was only the 350 was the biggest they did. Anyway, there we go. So here we are, 40 mile an hour, nice and quiet, realistically, for a cabriolet. Yeah, just nice. Let's get off this main road, and there's a little bit of straight here that we can open it up on, which would be kind of nice if the traffic's good. And that's it. Round to 6,500 and easily to the speed limit. But not over. Wouldn't be over, would it? Never. And I think this is one of the last kind of engaging cars to drive. You know, I mean, I've openly said on several occasions that I hate new cars. They're just so soulless. It's like operating a media centre. I like to drive. I like to be involved in it. I like a little bit of feedback. I like to know what's going on underfoot. And I just don't think you get that with new cars. So I'm a little bit worried actually about what the future holds for me, because if this is kind of the limit that I was willing to go to in a newer vehicle, I wonder what I'm going to end up with in 10 years' time. What am I going to be driving then? I have no idea. It's a very lazy car, isn't it? I've got one hand kind of on my leg, 2 fingers on the steering wheel. It's just a nice thing to cruise around in. Now, I've come from my background of cars has been, well, actually not that varied. A lot of Fords, as I've said, in the past. Yeah, a lot of Fords, a lot of BMWs, a few Mercedes now. You know, I do tend to stick to a certain brand, I guess, or selection of brands and kind of similar-ish vehicles. And I mean, we're in some really rough, bumpy lanes here, and you can hear the drumming through the car because we're on low-profile tyres and it's got sports suspension on it. But unlike if you are used to a BMW, you would get a very, very firm, very sporty feeling ride when you're driving. The Mercedes isn't like that. They don't do that. They do a very compliant ride, and this is, to a degree, still very compliant, even being a sport model. And I think my brother pointed it out to me, I guess, when I bought this, you know, the standard thing. Turn up at brother's place, he takes it for a drive, you know, kind of go for the seal of approval, if you like. And that's what we always do. It's one of those things. And he was driving it quite quickly around the main A road, not far from here. Some pretty lively corners. And he said, "Oh God, that's that thing with Mercedes. You never think it's going to do it until you put it in the corner." And what he was getting at was that when you start to turn in one of these, it does feel a little bit softly sprung. You know, if you're a passenger in one and somebody's driving one quickly, the first sharp set of corners you come up to, you're going to be forgiven for grabbing for a handle that isn't necessarily there. And what happens is that it will tip in, you'll get a little tiny bit of body roll, and then suddenly it stiffens up and levels out. And that's pretty much a characteristic of these, of all Mercedes really. It doesn't really feel like it's going to do it or it's going to be safe, and then suddenly it is. And once you know, obviously, you'll be more than happy to drive it in a spirited fashion. But as I say, and that's one of the things that I really like, and that's one of the things that makes it such a great distance vehicle. You know, when you're on the motorway, you don't want to know every single undulation and bump in the road. You're going to feel them to a degree, definitely, but it's not a harsh ride. When you want it to be a sporty drive, it's there. It's not an issue. And I think that's the thing that's set me apart as I've got older. I guess it's pulled me away a little bit from BMW. Not to say that I wouldn't have an E39 M5 in a heartbeat, or possibly another E36 M3. Wouldn't mind an E34 M5 actually. Yeah, I'd probably just go and buy another BMW if the right one came up. That sounds like the sort of thing I would do. Jeez, when will I learn? Probably never. So again, what am I going to tell you about this particular car? Important features, I guess we've covered. 3.5 litre V6, 268 brake horsepower, 258 foot-pound of torque, rear-wheel drive, 7-speed automatic box with sport, comfort, manual, and the silly paddles that you don't use. This one has all mod cons, 4 electric windows, power steering, climate control, electric seats, heated seats, parking sensors, cruise control, speed limiter, auto dim mirror, auto dim external mirror. Oh, is that it? Yeah, possibly. On top of that, doubled in stereo, which is an aftermarket Pioneer unit, but it gives you Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And if you wanted to, you could find somewhere to fit a DAB aerial, and it's got DAB. You can have digital quality adverts if that's your thing. I didn't bother with the aerial. I just don't want to listen to adverts, so I don't listen to the radio. I like all my music on my phone and then come straight through. The layout in here, the ergonomics are brilliant. I love the sport steering wheel. I love the steering wheel buttons. The switch gear is a little bit, I suppose, strange unless you've had a Mercedes. A lot of people complain the indicator stalk down here is too low and try and indicate with the cruise control, and then obviously just basically set the cruise control and snap the stalk off in their anxiety. Yeah, they've got a lovely big speedo in the centre, small rev counter, nice information display in the centre of the speedo, and a large analogue clock. The digital temperature and fuel gauges, they're okay. I don't mind them, but I know a lot of people don't like them. They'd have preferred an analogue gauge. Fine. There's no handbrake in the console. It's a foot-operated parking brake with a release lever on the right here. Takes a little bit of getting used to, but not too much. And aside from that, it's all good. I'm just going to slow down. Even though this is a fast piece of road, there is a motorcycle behind me, and he should take the opportunity on a bank holiday to get out and enjoy himself. There we go. But yeah, if you want a slightly sportier drive, obviously you've got the sports mode. If you actually want to use the paddles, we can just click, and immediately on the display down here it comes up, down to third, second, click, click, press and hold, back into drive. Yeah. Does make a nice noise though, that V6. It's very rare you actually hear it, to be honest, but you've got to get it over about 4,000 for it to really make some noise and come on song. But and I say that is a rarity, because this thing shifts so beautifully and so seamlessly and drives on its torque at low revs. It's very rare. You really do have to bury your foot in the carpet to ever hear the engine. You stupid. We drive on the left in the UK. And there, that is shifting at, well, 2,100. We're already in fourth. Fifth, I think, at 50 mile an hour. Sixth. And then we've got one more if we get a little bit of a pace on. The only other thing I will say about this car that isn't exactly to my liking is some of the convenience on it. You know, if you're going to have a cabriolet and you're going to be able to fold the entire roof into the boot of your car and keep it level, there's going to be a compromise on space. Okay, that's fine. I have no issue with that. It has a load separator. I think it's called boot separator is what the car calls it when you don't have it plugged in or don't have it fully down. And that's, you know, it's an annoyance when you think, oh, it's nice, I'll just pop the roof down, and you realise that you've left that thing up. So you have to get out, go around the back. You know, that's a first world problem, isn't it? Oh, I can't pull the switch and drop the roof because I've got to get out and pull a cover over so I don't crush all my stuff with the roof. But the fact is, it's a 4-seat car and it's dedicated 4 seats, which, you know, we're a family of 4, so it's not actually a big problem. But it does mean that some of the load area isn't so user-friendly. The door bins are really small and they're a little bit awkward to get your hand into. They're just really, really thin. There's excellent storage elsewhere, but this armrest, because it opens this way, if I want it to get in the bottom, I have to push it up there and then get round and in. You know, it's not a big problem, you get used to it, but you just think, couldn't it have opened sideways? I'm guessing not, otherwise it probably would have done. What else don't I like about the CLK? I don't like this Mercedes emblem on top of the gear stick. This looks a bit naff, really. But I don't spend a lot of time looking at that when I'm driving it. I don't like the creaky seat, but that's probably more me than the car. No, that's about it. I do love this feature with the roof switch. You pull up or back if you like to open the roof, push forward to shut the roof. That's sensible. If you just want the windows down, you can just double tap and drop all 4 windows, which is rather nice. And then double pull and bring them all back up again. I love the fact that there virtually isn't a pillar. The visibility from this is excellent. I hate when people tint the windows on a cabriolet, because, well, you've just ruined it. As soon as the roof's down, if you do want to be the guy driving around with the windows up, it looks ridiculous. Or when people tint the rear windows, a la most coupes and things now, and by virtue of that, remove all of the design effort that Mercedes went to keep the pillarless coupe look. I just think to myself, why have you haven't thought that through at all. You've messed it up, you've spoiled the look of your car. I like the stereo in it. Like the sound quality from the factory unit was really, really good with the 7 speakers. Unfortunately, the amplifier in this one was broken, which is part of the reason it's been removed. It's all included. This had factory nav, and obviously it will be included in the sale of the car. I always keep all of the things, all of the original parts, just so that I can put them back. So yeah, there you go. You've seen it now. That is my 2009 CLK 350 Sport. Hope you liked it.